Hey everybody, this is John Wood again, and I am coming to you from East Rosebud Fly and Tackle, the rockinest fly shop in the country, maybe the universe. Be sure and visit us online at eastrosebudflyandtackle.com. You're liable to find some things you can't find anywhere else. If it's not available anywhere else, you might find it right here. So be sure and stop by and check it out. Today I'm going to talk to you about knots. I want to give you the 5 knots that if you know these knots, you'll be able to do practically anything in fly fishing. There are a couple of specialty areas where other knots are required, but for your basic fly fishing, whether you're fishing for trout, you're fishing for bass, pike, whatever, saltwater, these knots are going to help you out. They're going to make you competent in making sure that all of your knots are secure. And I just want to run through these 5 knots. The other thing that I want to emphasize about knots is always tighten them wet. When you cinch a knot wet, it adds lubrication and it reduces heat. When you cinch a knot dry, it generates heat, especially with nylon and fluorocarbon. What happens is the movement and the friction will cause heat that's going to weaken your knot because it weakens your lines. It'll cause little curlicues and deformation of the line. So be sure you always wet those knots. Right, the first knot I want to show you is the surgeon's knot. And this is the knot that you're going to use whenever you have your leader is shortened or you want to drop the size of the end of your leader. Say you want to go from a 4X down to a 5X. This is the simplest, most effective knot that you can use for adding tippet. And so I want to show you how to tie that one. And this is one that if you practice it at home, you practice it enough, you should be able to do this one blindfolded. So the line on my left and your right represents the leader. The line on my right, your left, represents the tippet. What we want to do is get an overlap, and I like about 4 inches when I'm working with tippet, because it's enough that you don't struggle with it, but you're not eating up a lot of extra line. But for using this backing like I'm using here for the demonstration, I'm going to overlap it a little bit more because this stuff doesn't act as nicely as tippet and leader do. So you get your overlap, hold the 2 like that, and just create a loop. Once you get the loop, bring the end of your leader and the entire tippet through that loop, and we're going to do that twice. And I like the double surgeon's knot as opposed to a triple surgeon's knot because it has a lot less bulk. Once you get your 2 loops made, just pull them up, and I like to get this little figure 8, which you can see right here. And at that point, I'll either dip it in the water or get a little saliva on there. And I also wear chapstick when I'm on the water because I don't want my lips to get burned. Chapstick is an excellent lubricant and allows you to just pull that up and cinch that just right. And you'll notice that I'm pulling the tag ends at the same time I'm pulling my main lines. Another great thing about this knot is you can trim it just as close as you want to the knot without it losing any strength. So you can get a nice knot that doesn't have anything that's going to catch weeds or anything like that. And it's nice and clean, nice and stout. And you've got a good solid piece of tippet onto your leader. The second knot that you want to know is the clinch knot. Now this is just your basic knot for attaching your tippet to your hook. And I'm using an extra large everything so that you can really see what's going on here. To start, we just run the line through the eye of the hook and double it over. Now I'm going to take that, and I like to pinch it right in front of the eye to hold that line open. And then we're just going to wrap, and I suggest a minimum of 4 wraps, and usually no more than 6, because you get too many wraps and it's hard to cinch. If you don't get enough wraps, you're going to lose some of the clinch that holds this knot together. Once you get your wraps around the main line with the tag, we're going to slide that tag end through that loop right in front of the eye of the hook. Again, you want to start your cinching just so that you see that everything is where it should be, and what you see here is a nice spiral and a loop around the main tippet. Get it wet by dipping it in the water, saliva, or whatever you want to use, and then pull, let your hook or your fly go, and then pull both of these together like this. And then at this point, especially if you've got heavier tippet, you may need to push that stack down a little bit. There's one restriction to this. As you see, that knot is cinched right up against the hook and it doesn't move. For most fly applications, that is great. But if you've got a fly, say like a big baitfish fly or something like this crab, you may want to have some movement off of the knot to make that fly have a little more action. For that, I like to use what's known as a non-slip loop knot. For our non-slip loop knot, I'm going to start by making a loop, just an open loop in the end of my tippet. This is going to be our tag end to my left, your right. Make that loop and slide it up 3 to 6 inches from the end of your tag. Now we're going to put it through the eye of the hook, and then I want to pinch that loop so it doesn't close down on me. And then we're going to take our tag end, run it through the loop, and then make, just like the clinch knot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops, wraps around with the tag around the main line of the tippet. And then we're just going to take that tag and run it right back through the loop that we created. And then I'm going to take this and pulling the tag and the main tippet, pull that up to where it's starting to snug, moisten it, and then just pull here. Pull that back. Now this line is kind of stiff, but you can see that we've kind of made almost like a hangman's noose. It's like making a clinch knot, only leaving a big loop. The next knot that we want to know is the perfection loop. Now this is the loop that you will find in every manufactured leader right up at the top where you make the loop-to-loop connection to your fly line. So what we're going to do is we're going to start and we're going to make a loop, and I've brought the tag end on the side of the loop away from me, and I pinch it between my thumb and forefinger. Now I'm going to bring another loop around and pinch that between my thumb and forefinger, and you see the tag is out here to the far right. Now I'm going to bring that over and pinch it so that it goes between the 2 loops that we created. Then I'm going to reach through the first loop, grab the second loop, and pull it through and cinch that down just like that. And I like to make sure that this knot is really nice and tight just by pulling on it with my hand. The last knot I want to show you is the nail knot. Now traditionally this was originally tied with a nail ran along the line, and then your tippet or your backing that you wanted, you would wrap it around the nail and the line and then feed that along the nail. Huge pain in the butt. Don't recommend it. So somebody invented a nail knot tool. Pretty good when you're using mono and fly line, but when you get the backing or the end phrase, kind of a pain in the butt still. So I'm going to show you how I do this. And the first ones I did with using this technique, I tied using a bobbin threader. But sometimes you're on stream and you need to tie one of these. You're probably not going to have a bobbin threader in your pocket for several reasons. So you can use a piece of tippet. I'm just going to cut that loose. What I've done is I've taken a piece of tippet, folded it over, and then I just run my thumb and forefinger along it till I get a kink right in the end, just like the bobbin threader. Now I'm going to take my fly line, and it's going to be to my left, and I want the loop in my threader to be right at the end of the line that I want to attach to. Now I'm going to take my backing or tippet or whatever, and I'm going to lay that right along the threader and the line. And I want a nice long tag on this because I don't want to have to fight it at the end. And I'm going to pinch this here, and that's going to be where the top of my knot is. And then I'm just going to start making wraps. Now when you're using mono, it kind of uncoils itself. When you're using backing, try not to over cinch those loops. And you want to make 5 to 8 depending on what you're doing. I've made a couple extras on this. For backing, I usually just do 5. Now I'm going to reach over and pinch that right there. Run my tag in through my threader. Reach back behind here. If I can grab both ends. Pull it down. And then I'm just sliding that through all of the loops that I made. And you can see what I've got there now. Now you're just going to take, holding in one hand the main line and the tag end on the other, just slowly cinch those down. Make sure they're not looping up on each other. You can even them out and then just pull it. And that's one of the reasons you want a nice long tag end, is so that you can really cinch down on. There you have a simple, much easier version of tying the nail knot.